The city never sleeps. Its heart beats in the hum of traffic, the rhythm of footsteps on wet pavement, the echo of neon lights flickering against glass towers. To most, it is noise, chaos, routine, but to one, it is life itself. In the narrow alleys, beneath the rumble of trains, and across the endless rooftops, lives a creature forged in the steel veins of this place, a cat, nameless to the world, but in his bones he calls himself Shadow. He was born in the dust of an abandoned construction site, his first breath filled with the grit of cement and oil. His mother, a lean tabby with sharp green eyes, licked him clean while sirens wailed in the distance. From the beginning, Shadow's lullaby was the growl of engines and the metallic thunder of the city. Shadow grew quickly, taught by instinct and by his mother's discipline. Stay low, trust only your nose, don't meet the eyes of humans unless you must. The lessons were etched into him as deeply as the scars that would one day mark his coat when his mother vanished. Gone one evening, never to return, Shadow learned his greatest truth. In the city, survival is the only law. By night he prowled the alleys, paws silent on cracked pavement. He knew the rhythm of the baker's trash bins, overflowing with scraps when dawn crept in. He knew the old man who left fish guts by the market door, muttering in a language Shadow did not understand but whose kindness he did. He knew the dangerous hum of tires, the way light bends on wet asphalt before disaster, but he was not alone in this domain. Rival cats ruled territories as fiercely as kings defend thrones. There was Claw, a scarred Tom who owned the docks, his growl echoing like thunder over water. There was Silk, a sleek white queen with piercing blue eyes, who led a gang of alley cats near the marketplace. Shadow had crossed paths with them all, sometimes in battle, sometimes in fleeting truce, always with the understanding that the city was too small for peace. One winter night, snow fell, rare and biting, painting the city in silence. Shadow crouched beneath a broken fire escape, watching flakes vanish against his warm breath. Hunger gnawed at him. The baker's trash had been picked clean. His ribs pressed against his skin. From across the alley, yellow eyes gleamed. Claw, the Tom's muscles rippled beneath his scarred coat as he advanced, tail twitching like a whip. The fight was sudden, brutal. Claw lunged, claws raking Shadow's shoulder. Shadow twisted, his body a blur of instinct, and sank his teeth into Claw's ear. The alley echoed with snarls, hisses, the wet sound of flesh tearing. In the end, Shadow stood bloodied but unbroken, his breath steaming in the frozen air. Claw slunk into the shadows, defeated for now, but Shadow knew. In the city, no victory lasts forever. Seasons passed. Storms battered rooftops. The air grew thick with heat, and the city changed as it always does. Buildings rose where others crumbled. Humans came and went. But Shadow endured. His coat darkened with scars, his eyes sharpened with experience. He learned the secret paths of the city, the bridge beams where pigeons roosted, the subway vents that exhaled warmth in the dead of winter, the rooftops that offered safety when the ground was filled with danger. Still, the greatest threat was not rivals, nor dogs, nor hunger. It was humans. Some fed him scraps, whispered soft words, reached out with trembling fingers, but others hurled stones, set traps, or worse. Shadow learned to read them by their footsteps, the way they carried their scent. Kindness was rare, cruelty was common, indifference was constant. One summer evening, the city burned orange with sunset. Shadow perched on a rooftop, eyes fixed on the horizon. Below, the marketplace bustled with life, laughter, shouts, music rising in the heat. Then came the crash, glass shattering, smoke rising. Humans fled as fire spread through the stalls, flames devouring wood and canvas. Shadow darted along the rooftops, instincts screaming. Amid the chaos, he heard it. A tiny, desperate mule. In the shadow of a collapsing awning, a kitten cowered, its fur singed, eyes wide with terror. For a moment, Shadow hesitated. Survival had always been his only law. But something stirred within him, a memory of his mother's green eyes, of warmth pressed against fur in the dark. With a growl, he leaped, teeth clamped gently around the kitten's scruff. Shadow bounded over debris, through smoke, and into the night. The fire faded into memory, but the kitten did not. She became his shadow's shadow, following him across alleys and rooftops. He named her nothing, for names were human things, but in his heart she was light. Together, they carved a life in the chaos. He taught her the baker's bins, the old man's fish, the rhythm of the streets. She chased leaves in the wind, pounced on his tail, slept, curled against his side. But the city's dangers never ceased. One night, rain hammered the streets, turning alleys into rivers. Shadow and the kitten took shelter beneath an overhang, fur-soaked eyes glowing in the dark. Then came the sound. Footsteps, too slow, too deliberate. A man, his coat heavy with rain, eyes gleaming with something darker than hunger. In his hand, a sack. Shadow's fur bristled, his body coiling like a spring. He hissed, low and furious, as the man advanced. The kitten pressed against him, trembling. The man lunged. Shadow exploded upward, claws slashing, teeth sinking into flesh. The man cursed, blood mixing with rain. Shadow drove him back, a storm of fury and survival. With a final hiss, he herded the kitten into the night, paws pounding against flooded pavement. The city swallowed them once more. Years passed. Shadow grew old. His muzzle grayed, his body slowed, but his spirit did not break. He had fought rivals, storms, hunger, and man. He had raised another to survive where he once struggled. On a final golden evening, he perched again upon a rooftop, the city sprawling infinite below him. Lights flickered on like stars, the hum of life rising to the heavens. The kitten, no longer small, but strong and sleek, sat beside him, her eyes mirroring his. Shadow's heart swelled with something greater than survival. For in her, he saw not just life, but legacy. The city would endure, and so would his kind. As night fell, Shadow lifted his head and let out a sound. Not a meow, not a growl, but something in between, carried by the wind. A declaration, a promise. The city was his kingdom, and he, its eternal shadow.